Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
Taxi! Okay, man, we're looking around. This is the 77 WABC minicast.
This is another side of midnight. My friends, this is a chance for me to have on, as we do, which is one of the most important, if not the most important, aspects of the show as we talk about what's going on right now, is Lynn Shaw from lynswarriors.org. Lynn's Warriors on YouTube at Lynn's Warriors, and on X, I still call it Twitter, at Lynn's_Warriors. Tonight's topic is going to be the coordinated assault on the nuclear family, parental primacy, parental autonomy, and the like. And it is time right now for you, my friends and others, to sound the alarm, because what we are witnessing, this is more frightening than any gray or critter or any type of Ebola, manufactured fear or otherwise, is what we are witnessing is not random. It's not happenstance. It is not disconnected. It is simply kids spending too much time online. What we are seeing is a systematic and the deliberate erosion of parental autonomy, parental primacy, and the destruction of the nuclear family. Without further ado, without further delay, without any hesitation, I bring to the microphones, in this particular case, our guest, my beloved, full disclosure, I love that, full disclosure, my beloved Lynn Shaw from Lynn's Warriors. Good evening and welcome back to Warrior Weekend.
Thank you, Lionel. I really want to talk about, put the parents, let's talk about parents, back into the picture, because we have so much of this discussion going on around kids, around online safety these days. This past week we had HHS, Health and Human Services, put out an advisory about kids are spending too much screen time, and they put out a toolkit, which is terrific. But in all this discussion, the one thing we're leaving out a lot is really talking directly about the parents. So that is what I want to discuss this evening or this morning, how we put the parents back into the picture.
Let us begin.
Well, okay. I want to say the Warriors were angry. And I think all Americans should also be angry, because every time a child is groomed online, radicalized, we're hearing a lot of that radicalization online. It happened online. A lot of these kids who are involved in these shootings, involved in these teen takeovers, they're learning it all online. Anytime a child, exploited online or psychologically manipulated online, right? The first response, the playbook, the first thing we always hear from big tech, from these different activist groups, and believe you me, they are, talk about being active. They're online, going after parents, right? Going after groups that are trying to put out correct information. And there are political operatives. They are always there with that same playbook message: blame the parents. They never say blame the algorithm. They never say, blame these billion-dollar, trillion-dollar corporations, big tech, engineering the addiction, which we know is true because of whistleblowers, leaked internal memos, all these different studies that have come out now. Never blaming the platforms that are profiting from all this chaos, confusion, and isolation. So we at the Warriors want to, really sound the alarm about, let's talk about the parents a little bit more, because we have in the news lately so many of teenagers angry, violently taking over schools, attacking teachers, this kind of organized mob behavior, mental health collapse. We talk a lot about youth mental health. Also the nonstop exposure that kids are, seeing, witnessing online constantly. And society keeps pointing fingers at moms and dads who are trying to do their best, but they protect this ecosystem that monetizes, right? Makes money off the backs of all our kids, off of all of us. So I really want to discuss how parents are being delegitimized, and the family unit is being treated. Nobody's really talking too much about this, as this kind of outdated thing, right? While these corporations, influencers, I'll put in quotations, AI systems, and these platforms with these algorithms, those have become the new authority figures shaping children's morality, identity, even sexuality, their world view, and we're seeing the behaviors.
And also, by the way, Lynn Shaw from Lynn's Warriors, we're also seeing, and you've seen this up front and personal, not only personally, but anybody who's watched any of the current series of litigation involving parents bringing lawsuits against these companies. But we learned that the heads of these companies, from Zuckerberg on down and Bill Gates, they don't let their own kids watch this. In fact, in maybe you can refresh my recollection of this, but in China, the amount of time that a child is allowed on TikTok is 40 minutes a day or a week, who knows? But clarify that they don't even like their own platforms. Is that not correct?
It's interesting because TikTok, comes out of China, right? TikTok is one of the top platforms for kids. They're on YouTube, they're on Snap, they're on TikTok. Those are the three main ones, right? In China, their children are allowed 40 minutes a day, and then it shuts down. And the 40 minutes is comprised of healthy content. That healthy content, what they deem healthy content, is about education. It is about their country. It is about history. It is about nature. It can be about animals, but it's healthy content. But here in the United States, we don't have anything like that. Now, I want to get something out of the way, which I come up with several times a day. We at the Warriors are pro-innovation, pro-technology. This is the world we live in. We're not trying to ban a word we don't like, stop, attack. We're not doing anything like that. We live in this digital environment world. We want to make it healthy as possible for our kids, for our children, for our families. Because what is going on right now, we can look back over the history of, online world. The internet was basically born in 1996, so we have 30 years now. And especially in the last 2 decades, now we do have great studies, a lot coming forward. We see the problems with kids and with families, and we know what's going on, again, behind the scenes of these big tech companies who have no regulation at all, okay? Only businesses. There's nothing there for them. They're just a runaway train, the Wild West. And we know this is not accidental. We have seen the targeting. And listen, weak families create dependent populations. Isolating kids, they're easier to manipulate. Confused teenagers are easier to market to. And frightened parents are easier to silence. So that's what I want to remind everybody about. And I want to talk about that parental rights are human rights, and parents must remain the primary authority in their child's life, not Silicon Valley, not social engineers, and not unelected, these technocrats deciding, up on some hill somewhere, some house in Silicon Valley, right? In their T-shirt and bare feet, deciding what our kids should think, believe, or become, because they're allowed to, okay? Because there is no regulation, and the alarm bells are ringing, and America better wake up. We are waking up before this damage becomes irreversible. I really think this is an American crisis.
Can we, not to, I love to say this, not to interrupt, which makes no sense because we can do whatever we want. But yesterday, you and I had one of the rare opportunities of attending a movie at the cinema. We went to our local cinema, and we're walking. By the way, a half an hour of coming attractions. Come on, commercials, please. In any event, tell us what we saw and what you saw and what shocked you in a good way regarding an upcoming movie called Toy Story 5, I believe. I think this was absolutely poignant.
Well, it remains to be seen. First of all, I was kind of happy with the 25 minutes because the movie theater was crowded, right, on a Friday afternoon. I think that is terrific to see crowds out going to movies. And It kind of was enjoyable, just the buzz in the theater. But besides that, that's beside the point. There was a trailer for Toy Story 5, right? Toy Story's been around the franchise a long time now. And again, it remains to be seen, but the trailer was telling us about how the traditional toys, Buzz Lightyear and Woody and the other toys in a little girl's bedroom, right? This is an animation, this feature. They come out of retirement, or they come out of the boxes under the bed. They come out to fight big tech, because the little girl, the character in the movie, she gets what looks like an iPad or a leapfrog, right? And she's taken with it, and she's on it all day long. Okay, so the toys come out to fight, and they're going to fight this new technology, and that's basically what the movie is about. The director is quoted as saying, our kids are on screens all day long. They're not playing with traditional toys. So let's create Toy Story 5 around this, but it remains to be seen, what that movie will actually is. A Disney Pixar movie. Is this, again, more propaganda, that we're going to like our tech at the end? Our tech is friendly?
Right. They're going to be a good guy.
I'm thinking about, or we're going to use it in moderation, or they're all going to work together. Remains to be seen. But I thought the trailer was interesting. At least the subject is coming up. Or, which is usual, is Disney Pixar just smart? Because there's been such a backlash against children's entertainment, which has become very sexualized. Maybe they're trying now to appeal and get back. It's that dollar sign again, right, as the bottom line, to family entertainment.
Remember, the other movie that we saw, which is interesting, was this documentary on AI in the same theater. And I thought that was the most watered down waste of time. That was supposedly, it was billed as an expose. But let me ask you another question. Lynn Shaw from Lynn's Warriors. You use the term algorithm. How are algorithms changing childhood itself?
The algorithm is just something that big tech plants into content. Again, we know this because the whistleblowers have come forth, the internal memos that have been leaked, right? An algorithm, for instance, a child can be looking up something very simple. They can be looking up, what is an apple? And they may get the definition, in the first click. But by third, fourth clicks, they can be led down a path where they're on a porn, some porn site, that has the word apple in it. So they're fed the content. So kids are seeing things they're not even looking for. Because remember, the job, big tech thinks it's their job. Not thinks, it is. This is how they think. Keep those eyeballs on here. Keep the kids scrolling. Keep the ad dollars. The more they're on there, the more time, the more ad dollars that come in. Here's the thing. When a child sees something, when I say child, I mean minors, so like under 18, okay, kids, teenagers. Once something is seen, it can't be unseen. The little developing brains, right, that they're constantly in motion. If a child sees something, children naturally they question things, they're inquisitive, they want to see things. Let's say they see something sexual. They might continue on that path, right? Keep clicking, whatever's fed to them, because they're curious. It's not their fault. They're being fed content they're not even looking for. So we know that this is damaging. They're seeing things their brains are not ready to handle, or they haven't, things that haven't been discussed in the household. That's up to that parent. Again, let's get back to parental autonomy. That's up to the parent, what you want to discuss with your child. But again, because of all these devices, and kids ages 9 to 17 have access to 4 devices in their homes, the Chromebooks, the phones, gaming, laptops, they are seeing so much content that they're not ready to even handle. It's like a deluge, constant. The brains are constantly going, constantly, and they're constantly, it's like they're on this, it's an addiction. We have all the studies now, seeking more. And so they're seeing so much, again, that they most likely are not ready to handle. And what is that content? What is the thinking behind that content, or the point of view, not coming from the home, coming from a stranger?
So, by the way, we what I have read as well and talked to teachers and people that we know who are educators, the speed, the rapidity, the way that this information, it's like a tsunami. irrespective of what the message is, whether it's about nature or numbers or colors. A child is not designed to open up this box, this thing, this device, and to be attacked with stimuli, attacked with colors and sounds and flashes and lights. It doesn't work like that. And later on, because they do not learn how